Hello everyone and welcome to the show. I have four wonderful guests with me here in the studio in RTL City in Luxembourg, and today we're going to talk about the African community in Luxembourg and what it means to be part of the African diaspora here in Luxembourg and beyond Luxembourg as well, travelling from your homeland into Europe, and there are so many stories around that, and we've got four countries represented here around this table today. So I have in front of me, I've got Burrel Ngatcha, who's the president and founder of ALC, the African Luxembourg Community, and that is a business network community here, but also represents many of the voices from Africa, and you're originally from Cameroon. Right. Then I have Sonia Brahmi, who is CEO of Cairo, a tax advisory boutique in Luxembourg and Malta actually, and you're from Algeria originally. And then I have Dr. Leïla Kamara, CEO of Kamara Advisory, which deals with entrepreneurship, sustainability, circular economy and female leadership, originally from Mauritius. And I have Cheikh
Ndiaye.
Thank you.
No worries. That was the hard one.
Well, Cheikh isn't spelled like I would spell Cheikh. Cheikh Ndiaye.
Yes, perfect.
And you're Counsel at Elvinger Hoss Prussen, legal excellence, diversity in the legal profession we're going to talk about. And you were born and raised in Senegal. So welcome to all of you. Now, Burrel, I'm going to start with you because, in fact, you brought us all here together. You are the president, founder of ALC, the African Luxembourg Community. Why is it important to have an African community here in Luxembourg?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Lisa, for having you today. I'm very happy to be there and speak. I do believe that Luxembourg, it's a small country, 700,000 inhabitants, but is at the same place, it's very diverse because we can find a lot of different countries, Portugal, Spanish, Brazil, but also people coming from Africa. And I do believe that when I arrived here in Luxembourg, it was quite difficult to find people that I can share a common history. So I do believe Africa Luxembourg community got a place here in Luxembourg.
There's quite a few people from Cameroon in Luxembourg, or at least I feel I've met quite a few people from Cameroon in Luxembourg.
Like everywhere.
Like the Irish. No, that's true. And I've just mentioned four different countries around the table. Africa is an enormous continent.
That's right.
And, when you leave a country, one part of you is belonging to a country, another part of you is belonging to a continent. So for you, it was important to pool, not to make a Cameroon community, but an African community.
That's correct, because, Africa got 54 countries from the north to the south, the east to the west. So, at some point, there is so much cultures, so much languages that we can, bring to the table here in Luxembourg. And it was making sense for me to create something for the whole continent, not only for, Cameroon, because we are not like only Cameroonian people here in Luxembourg.
No, well, congratulations on founding the African Luxembourg Community. And Sonia, we had a little bit of a chat over a bit of coffee, and you were saying that you're third generation Algerian. You yourself grew up in France, and with that already comes the feeling, I imagine, of what are you? Where are you from? Because you're piling on the various countries, cultural clothing almost, literally, in fact, in some ways. So what did it feel like belonging to an Algerian family but being raised in France?
It is, on the one hand, an amazing and beautiful heritage, and also it can be a bit of a challenge to find yourself as a person in a country where you want to be comfortable, but sometimes you don't feel exactly the same. Because, you look another way, although you were born in that country. So I grew up feeling sometimes a bit mixed. My family was pretty open-minded, but still you can feel that some traditions or expectations are a bit different. So over the years, as we grew up and turned into adults, we have to make decisions for ourselves. What do I want? What do I want to be? And if I want to be happy, I have to make decisions about me and myself. So we have this French saying, which I think illustrates that pretty well. this concept of having your ass seated in between two chairs, I don't think it's a nice feeling. So what personally, I have embraced my heritage, but fully integrated and happy where I am. So that used to be France. I left France quite a few years ago, and I traveled quite a bit actually. So before coming to Luxembourg, I was in Malta, in the UK. But wherever I am, I decide I want to be part of that community.
So you place yourself where you are, and that becomes home.
Exactly. With your own history and feeling grateful for what my family has done to bringing me where I am now. So I'm forever grateful for my grandparents for moving from Algeria to France to for a chance for a better life. So I feel, I have to, I need to honor them by doing good, by doing well, But I've decided I'm in Luxembourg, and I just, I'm happy here, and I just feel Luxembourgish, kind of.
Well, welcome. I mean, and that's the great thing of, I believe, a good city should make you feel like you belong, because a city is meant to be a thriving metropolis, literally, of various nationalities and cultures. And that's what gives it the greatest diversity for, hopefully, engendering brilliant ideas, which is what is meant to happen in a city. That's why you're working together for greater causes. Now, I have to also mention, we were chatting about it just as we walked to the studio. When you look at you, I couldn't tell where you're from. I would never be able to guess.
Really?
Where you're from.
It shows how diverse Africa is, first of all. We are coming in all shapes and forms and colors and hair texture. So don't take anything for granted when you see somebody. It's huge. The history is so rich, and Algeria is such a big country, and the Romans were there, and then the Berbers were there, and then the Arabs came, and so you can't just assume anything when you see somebody. It's true.
And what do you feel? Do you feel African or European, or does it matter?
It depends on the circumstances. Deep down, I feel I have African blood. I can feel it. I don't know. I have these African roots, and I can feel them. From a genetic perspective, I don't know how to explain. And even the culture, I like the African vibes. When I say African, I know it's very broad, but in general, I like the music, and I like the people and the vibe and the party and the energy. And in general, we're happy people. I don't know, I like that kind of vibe. But from a culture perspective, being raised in France, I love the French culture. I love my wine. I love my cheese, so...
You got the best of both worlds going on there, it sounds like.
True, so yeah.
And then, Leïla, you have your own story as well. Tell us about your journey to Luxembourg.
Sure. Thank you, Lisa. Well, I relocated actually to Luxembourg 5 years ago, coming from Paris. Back in the time for professional reasons. And before living in Paris, I grew up in Mauritania. So there is a lot of confusion between Mauritius and Mauritania, because due to the
similarity
wording, the writing of the countries, but we are a completely different country. We are located in Northwest Africa, in between several ethnical representation. It's within the country itself. We have a broad mix of different people, and as Miriam was mentioning, in Africa we have different colors and shapes and everything, and in our country itself it's the same. So there is a lot of positive output of it, because we are used to speak different languages, to mix with each other, and to develop this open-mindedness naturally. But the negative side is because of this different ethnies and tribal, sometimes historical wars or differences that were set it up by our ancestors. They might be also some conflicts and tension within the country, and that is one of the reason, or not one of the reason, that's the reason why my parents decided back in the 90s to leave the country. We had a very tense period between 1989, and the 90s. We had a beautiful life, but unfortunately for our security, my parents decided to leave the country, and they have chosen France because we are historically French colony. From the 20s to the 60s, Mauritania was French, so my father was born French. And me and my brother, ourselves, we were studying at the primary school, the French school. So it was a natural decision to choose France as a backup place to move to. And
what's the feeling about that? This is another difficult historical weight that African people carry, because there is the history of colonization and various languages being infiltrated, and you all are examples of that. I think around the table you're all French speakers, for an example. But of course there were different histories across the continent of Africa and different languages. What does it feel like to be Mauritanian and also have that history of France being a colonizer and then moving to France? Because it also, on the other hand, gave you an opportunity to leave a tricky situation.
Yes, correct. No, I think we are quite a proud community. And, Mauritania is very... It's a big territory. It's a 1 million square kilometer. It's bigger than France. However, it's a desert. We are in the middle of the Sahara. Nowadays, there are a bit more of 5 million inhabitants. So can you imagine? And when I left the country, we were less than 2 million in the whole country.
So mass exodus of people.
Yes, exactly. So there is a growth since then, but still it's a desert, and it's mostly habited by Bedouins, and this is our roots. Me, myself, we are a mixed, like in my family, we are mixed between one ethnic called Soninke and another one called Bedouin, which are internally called the white because of the Arabian origins. And then during this colony period, they were welcomed, I believe, because even though there were not much development in town, because as I mentioned, it was deserting, and it is almost still, even though they developed a little bit of economy, we have it's a lot around extraction, the steel, the iron. Now they discovered the oil and so on and so forth. But back in the time, there were not much of all of it. But it was an opportunity, I believe, indeed, because you are asking my own experience toward this relationship with the colonialism. I do believe that it was a positive period, not a negative one in our country, at least. There were not much murders and violence toward the local communities. However, obviously, after a certain point, it is totally natural to gain back their independency, even though there was a difference between the period before the colonialism, and it was also sequenced by different periods of time. There were before the Spanish, there were the Dutch people, from the Netherlands. There were a lot of different people that were invading, if I may say so, this region, and then the French. But the French didn't leave the worst part of it.
Thank you. You've given us a potted history of Mauritania. It's not an easy thing. I mean, when we go back ancestrally, there's a lot there that you carry on your shoulders. And like you were saying, Sonia, we have to choose how much of it do we actually continue to live with and what do we jettison and realise who are we? Who are we in the midst of all of this?
Yes, and it's a very personal decision to make, and it's not up to us to judge, others' decisions, because, as you say, there's a lot to carry, and at some point we have to put boundaries just for our own sanity. So I know that some people keep long-time grudges against ex-colonizers, but okay, fair enough.
Then the question is, which ones?
Exactly. And then where do you stop? Because, of course, France and England and even Italy and Netherlands, everybody had its share of Africa, but they're not the only ones. As I was saying earlier on, even Algeria was colonized by the Arabs coming from the Middle East at some point, but nobody is complaining about it nowadays. It's just a matter of fact. So do we want to hold on to those grudges forever, or at at our own small level, do we just want to aspire to something better and more peaceful for ourselves?
And want humanity.
Yeah.
Well, let's move to Senegal.
Yes. Thanks for having me first.
Wonderful to have you share.
So, so I can feel all that was said until now because, yes, I was born and raised in Senegal. My parents are still there. I only have, on the Senegalese side of my family, my older sister living not too far from Luxembourg in Nancy. So I left after high school to do my studies in France. And first of all, considering my background, the continent is not really an abstraction for me. It's a daily phone call from my parents, from aunts, from uncles. And so I actually started out studying mathematics, so not really into law.
Yes, this is an interesting thing that we will come on to.
Yeah.
I'm just parking that for a moment, yes.
Yeah, but if you wish, I can also briefly explain. It's just, it's not really surprising. It's just that when you're in the French school system in Senegal, basically they value more scientific topics like mathematics, physics, and things like that. And I was good at it. So the fact that I was also good at the other topics didn't really matter. So I didn't know what to do after my studies. And so the let's say that the right choice for the teachers at that time was to tell the students to go for what we call the French preparatory school, so classe préparatoire. So that's what I did. And that's almost a lottery once you're in, because after that you just have a contest between students, and you were assigned to a school, an engineering school. So I had one which was quite good, but along the way, somewhere along the way, I just realized that the questions I really cared about weren't really technical, because I had an internship on a trading floor. And I was more interested discovering investment funds in how power and capital are organized globally, and who gets to organize them. So I switched to law to structure investment funds. And during my studies, I read a lot on the topic. I understood that Luxembourg was the second largest hub globally after the US. And that's why I did my internship in the law firm in which I'm now, and I just stayed. So I was sworn in 2011, and I'm still working there.
Now let's go back to that original question, which was how power. What did you say? Power and governance. This is
power and capital. Yes,
power and capital moves around the world.
Yes, but it's also linked to all that was said previously, because. To summarize, I'd say that my job stripped down is plumbing. So
I don't know that there's many counsels at Elvinger Hoss who would say they're plumbers.
Yeah, I know, but they find I'm just a very bizarre a lawyer in that environment. But Shout out to my father-in-law, who is a plumber, by the way.
I was actually thinking that it's a great industry to be in.
Yes, let's talk about AI later.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so basically I design structures that let capital travel across borders, so legally, safely, at scale, and building the channels that move money in and out of emerging markets. So considering my background, I was always convinced that, investment funds was the best way for us to channel investments from European capital or global capital more generally towards sub-Saharan Africa. And that's why, I was really focused in understanding first, during the first years of my career, how it works. The best way to do it was Luxembourg in my mind.
So effectively all of your studies is leading back to helping Africa, which is...
That's correct. That was the intention. At the end of the day, I had first to, start with all the matters that I had to master first during my career, and along the way I met the right people to try to put together the right opportunities, the right synergies, also to build a bridge between Luxembourg and Africa in that sense. And considering the discussion we had on Diaspora and the way that I think that Burrel is handling this within the context of the ALC. When people hear Diaspora capital, they first think about remittances, and the background with colonization and reparations and things like that. But money sent home is for consumption. That's love, but for me it's not leverage. So the real asset of the African diaspora, to me, in Luxembourg, is that we're not standing outside of global finance. We are in the machinery right here. So there are people of African origin in this country structuring funds, running compliance, sitting in mancos, who understand both the regulation in Luxembourg here and the reality back home. So that double fluency is to me is the key, to do what I intend to do, and it's worth a fortune. So the lever is turning that proximity into vehicles, people who can make an African asset legible to European capital and root it back as ownership, not aid. That's very important.
Yeah.
I really think that a network like the ALC is exactly where the soft infrastructure meets the hard one.
Yeah, so you have your professional background meeting, your own life story, and you know what it's like on the ground. But I wanted to go back to the fact that you studied maths, first of all, because Sonia, when I was chatting to you, and you did actually study law, or you did it the other way around, but now you work heavily in blockchain and crypto and various other quite mathematical parts of law. And you said to me, actually, if I had my time again, I would study maths.
Correct.
Tell us more.
It's true. I mean, I was younger and I had to pick something. I picked the law. It just happened. I can't even recall why, but whatever, 15 years down the line, everything is evolving, technology, and right now we are witnessing the next revolution, which is the use of the blockchain, which in my opinion kind of matches the revolution of the internet back in the 90s maybe. And so, it's up to us to catch that opportunity. So I'm working heavily in that matter, but in the very beginning, with my very basic legal background, I had to figure out what the blockchain was. And here came the challenge. I had to figure out what cryptography was and hack coding and all those things, and it was completely alien to me. And this is where I figured, that's too bad. I should have started with what we call like hard pure science and then evolve into something else. But I think mathematics and other maybe physics as well help us putting everything into perspective. So I think it's a tool to help us navigate this world, basically. So I have a bit of a regret on that, but I'm working really hard now to catch up.
Well, I mean, you come with a different a legal mind, mathematical mind. They coalesce. Although, from what I know, it is easier to study maths with a younger brain, and all of the big Nobel prizes are won by young mathematical brains. Apparently, that's how the mind works. It works good for discovery in maths early on. But what can we do? We can't change how time flows at the moment, as far as I know. But let's tell us a little bit more about what you actually do, because as we've just heard from Cheikh, around the table here, you bring brilliant expertise, and you, just staying with you for a moment, Sonia, you have wonderful experiences of living and working in different places, and now you've set up your own advisory service, which is another stage on to gain the confidence to set up your own company, which is exactly what Leïla has done as well. So both of you have come to Luxembourg and you've set up your own companies. Talk to us about that.
Correct. Yes.
Deep breath. It was a lot of hard work. Leïla, give her a breath. Tell us about your company.
All right.
Let her take a pause just to get over that.
Actually, when I relocated to Luxembourg, it was to work with an employer within the fund industry. I spent prior to that 15 years in fund industry and working also with banking groups, providing consultancy, advisory, working on different projects with asset managers. And when they offered me to relocate here, I accepted, and I worked as an employee until December last year.
I just want to go back a little bit. Sorry to interrupt you, because there might be, I hope there are, young people looking at you and sitting around the table, and there are some people who will know literally nothing about the fund industry, and there might be little girls watching. I don't know, but hi if you are. and they'll think, what is the fund? How did you even know to get into that? How did you know to be a woman in finance?
Well, my first position within the fund industry was 20 years ago exactly. And that is something I actually shifted my career. I was into the luxury fashion industry prior to that. I did an MBA, and then I started to work for a company called L'Envin, which is
oh yes, I know.
a fashion brand. I was working within the marketing and so on and so forth, and it was very exciting from a creative perspective, but I realized that I was limited with my career on a long-term basis. And I got an opportunity. I was offered to join... But
I'm going to pause again. You were very young to realize you were limited in the long term.
Yeah, because I was also discussing a lot with my colleagues who used to work in this company for years. And I asked them about their journey, their salaries, and all the things that I was targeting at that moment. And I realized that it was very limited, and it's a very difficult industry to step in and to stay in because of the competition, because it was back in the time fashionable to work in the luxury environment, so there were a lot of people, also candidates to step in, and that was one reason. But I had another reason. I had kind of a dream or a wish to work within the financial industry, but back in the time, I thought that I would not be capable to. And then I got this opportunity.
And so why did you think you would not be capable?
I think because I'm not, as my friends here, a mathematic, natural...
not just numbers.
I'm not numbers focused. It requires me a substantive effort to be good at it. I'm more literature and writing and strategic, or like more this side of the thoughts, but the numbers less. And I linked the financial industry with the requirement to be good at math. And then when I had this opportunity to join this company. It's a French bank operating in the fund industry, one of the leader. And I joined this team where I was taking care of the clients. And to do so, I had to learn about the fund industry, what is a fund, how it works, what these clients are doing, and so on and so forth. And then I discovered that maybe to work within the financial industry, I don't necessarily need to work with numbers and to forecast what would be the future and be a trader.
No, and actually what is amazing is that you have now set up something completely different, which is, I think, very close to what you care about, a net zero innovation fund. So please tell us about this wonderful sustainable hybrid investment model which you've designed.
Yeah, so just previously you were asking me about my entrepreneurial journey, which started actually this year. I launched this company called Kamara Advisory to support fund investors in their strategy and knowledge awareness about sustainable investment and its impact on the environment. That's the focus on my role now, on my work. And that is the continuation of another study that I undertook in 21. I did a research about specifically that topic during 3 years. And after the completion of this study and this research, I was so much involved and engaged that I decided that, okay, so this is what I'm doing now. This is what I want to continue in. And this is how I launched the company. And the research was to assess a concrete question that I had when I enrolled in this program, which was clearly I was asking myself whether the socially responsible investment, all this sustainable capital, whether it is indeed, like in the reality, is it really enhancing the performance of the environmental and the financial of the companies that are invested, of the investee company. And so...
And what's your conclusion?
The conclusion, it is partially positively affecting the environmental performance of the companies, in the sense that on the short run, the effect is quite negative, and the long run, is the innovation side, meaning the green tech, the climate-related innovation. And here there is a real gap that I identified. And when we do this kind of research, we have to come up with some results, but also with some concrete proposal. And the concrete proposal that I brought to the market is the NZ Fund, the Net Zero Innovation Fund, which is indeed, as you were mentioning, specifically focusing the capital toward this green tech, and also to the high-emitting large companies, because during the research and the results, it's also highlighted that the high-emitting company were the one with the worst results in that matter. So we really need to support them in their transition rather than divesting from them when we are practicing sustainable investment.
Well, congratulations to you. I mean, this is a phenomenal thing. And we're recording this on a very hot day here in Luxembourg. And I have been to enough climate finance events to know, to learn from the sidelines at least. I try to learn as much as I can when I'm doing these events. We are so far away from what we need, and we need the private money to be investing, and it's just not there yet at all. And that means de-risking it. It means putting a whole load of frameworks around it so that it feels safe to invest in it, and etc. So I'm learning from the sidelines as much as I can, but I know that what you've done is terrific. So Burrel, tell us about your journey here to Luxembourg.
Yes, first of all, there is beautiful brands around me, so...
Well, there are beautiful brains around you.
Yes, and I guess
you're another one.
Well, Luxembourg wasn't a first choice at all.
What was the first choice?
Far away from France.
Wow. You really didn't get very far, did you?
Yeah. But the thing is, I come from Cameroonian family, right? So my parents they grew up in Cameroon, and they left the countries for a better life. So they established themselves in France, Lyon. So this is where I grew up.
And then
France.
just for you then, because that's first generation, what was it like for you in Lyon growing up there?
It was a nice memories over there. Yes, I met with a lot of friends. I got still family. I got my mother, my older sister, my nephew, and
so it was total acceptance. There was no problems integrating into the French society.
No, not on my side. It was pretty much easy. Of course, sometimes you struggle with a few things, but it's not such a big deal. Yeah, and at some point I did my study. I was working in finance. I did internship in Switzerland as well, and then I realized over there that I wanted to grow up in more international environments. So I decided to apply abroad. Like I said,
abroad being Luxembourg.
Yeah, Luxembourg is still abroad, right?
From Switzerland and France, yeah, sort of.
Yes, and I was lucky to find an opportunity over there. I wasn't expecting something particular, but at the time I had my auntie. She was living there, so at least I knew one people over there.
It makes all the difference if you know one person, even one person.
Yes, exactly, because they can teach you a lot of things. When you start in a new country, it's always challenging.
Which is, again, why having an association like ALC can mean so much, because if somebody arrives here, as many people do, on their own, knowing nobody, you're a little olive branch saying, hey, we know a few things, come and join us and have a coffee or a crémant and we'll help you out.
Exactly.
So who can join this network, by the way? Is it only African people?
No, that's what I'm trying to maybe sometime explain to people, because I did receive, like at the time, a couple messages from people who are not African but say, I'm not African, could I join? I say, of course. You have to read my message, because at the very beginning I'm saying that it's not about being Africans who matters the most. It's about being conscious and curious about the dynamics that happen in Africa, because at some point here in Luxembourg I was attending a lot of events from different associations, and we are not speaking enough about Africa. And I want to bring more topics related to Africa to the table. Like Cheikh said, we are a lot of Africans, descendants people working in finance, for instance, among other topics. But let's create a room for this purpose.
Yeah, well, I mean, events that I go to and things that I'm speaking at or moderating, I hear a lot about Africa, but not directly from African people. That's what I hear.
Yes.
And I do hear a lot of conversations about investment with Africa and how to manage that and de-risk it, etc. But again, I don't often hear from the voices of the African people.
Yes, I didn't want to interrupt, but...
Interrupt away!
But I think Burrel is way too humble, and I do have to tell him, like, he has done a tremendous work over the past year. The association is only 1 year old. He's very young, and I really admire the work you have performed to date. Like, you contacted so many people, you brought, us here today, first of all, and everyone else outside, and your entrepreneur, mindset and everything. I think it's beautiful to see at your age and the energy that you have and the commitment you have to bring African people together so we can have a voice and a platform. I think it's beautiful. And I'm really grateful, we get to work together for that purpose. So yeah, thank you for, that.
Oh, that is so nice. May I ask how old you are then, since you mentioned?
I didn't want to say anything. I'm not even 100% sure. I know he's younger than me and that at his age, I was not capable of doing such a thing.
No, but I have a further question. How old are you?
Well, I will turn 29 in July 3rd.
July 3rd.
Yes.
Well, maybe we'll have to put this out on your birthday. Well,
that would be a nice gift.
Happy birthday in advance.
Thank you.
But you're absolutely right, because at this age, what you're doing then is you're, and I know your backgrounds here around the table. You have got some really tremendous people here. You have got a terrific network going of very influential African people in Luxembourg and very highly educated African people in Luxembourg. I mean, I'm sure that you don't have to be super highly educated to join. It's open to everybody. But how did you have the courage to contact these people?
Well, the same courage that I did contact you. So
I'm easy to contact.
We're living in a world where, things getting easy to connect with people. And, Luxembourg is a very small country. And I did realize when I was attending different events that networking is key, but they are using the platform name, LinkedIn, to make it happen. So, the idea came really naturally, in that sense, to launch a group in LinkedIn, And I started to, at the very beginning, it was on back in May 2025, I started to first of all, had my previous colleagues, because I started my journey in January 2023 at Société Générale, and I had the chance to meet with a lot of Africans professionals. So back in May 2025, I decided to bring them together inside of the group, and I started to reach out to more people. So to answer your question, it's not about being African, but it's more about focus on what we can do together. Yeah.
Really, congratulations. That's not an easy thing what you've done, and you've done it at a tremendously young age, and you've taken your own time to do that. And I can completely see the positive purpose of having the voice in the room, and so many wonderful ideas. And like you said as well, Cheikh, the fact that with your work as a lawyer, you know how to do the work here and what funds need to be organised and how they should be structured, etc., to plumb them back, to use your plumbing analogy, into
Correct.
Senegal, exactly.
Yes.
So you know how to move things around, so it's mutually beneficial.
Yes, exactly. And more broadly towards other African countries, because what people don't really realize is that, 10 of the 20 fastest growing economies in the world are African countries. So there are a lot of opportunities in terms of investments there.
Which 10 are they?
I don't know the 10, but for example, if I can tell you that the first one is Niger, for example, with 11% of growth annually, you wouldn't be really interested in investing in Niger right now. But if you have boots on the ground, if you know the country, if you have a physical presence there, you know that there are a lot of opportunities. That's what certain of our clients are already doing. There are a lot of success stories with people investing there and who are really successful. But you don't know them, and they're under the radar, because I tell people quite often that, the joke is Africa, that vast country, and people tend to consider Africa as a whole, and there are a lot of opportunities there, and it's just like, talking about Singapore like it's Laos, for example, in terms of diversity, in terms of economies. So the first difficulty in terms of business was to educate people here, not to, actually de-risk the investments, but I would say to be able to invest considering the various economies, the diversity, the local reality, and I would say using that leverage as a strategic advantage towards competitors, because if you know the terrain there, That's a real advantage, and you can make great things.
So as you said earlier, it's not about aid. The conversation has certainly moved away from aid and grants, and it's definitely about empowering people on the ground.
Yeah.
So when it comes to funding certain projects, let's give the example of infrastructure projects, you know, ports, bridges, whatever it happens to be. So a fund might think, okay, I understand the risk profile of this investment. The money will go there. But the de-risking part of that is a higher percentage interest payback. And the countries are paying back by going into debt.
That's correct. But, I'm not talking about paying and investing alongside with the states, but I'm talking about the private sector there.
Mm-hmm. So have you got an opinion on the state part of this?
Yes, but I will try not to harm anyone around this table. But yes, that's the difficult part, to be honest, because when you deal with the state there, it's always a matter of, we have some very successful economies, which specifically succeed because of they embrace flexibility, and sometimes I would.
Embrace flexibility. Now there is a phrase.
Yes,
what
because
does that mean?
And my example is Rwanda, for example, because they even changed their official language to be more business oriented. So that's what I call flexibility. When you invest in Senegal, you still have the colonization heritage in terms of business. You are obliged to open a bank account with documents in French. In any case, you have to obtain wet ink signatures for any substantial or material decisions in terms of business. That's not that flexible.
I think we need Sonia on the case with the blockchain.
I was actually about to jump in. You read my mind.
Exactly.
Well, this is your field, Sonia.
And that's where the private sector really helps. And in terms of blockchain and everything, that's the opportunity.
You're highlighting one of the many issues. Of course, that Africa is a very dynamic country, and how are we helping them? So from Luxembourg, from the first all the way through third generation, diaspora descendant, how are we helping Africa to do better? Our parents had to cross the Mediterranean Sea to get a better life, but how do we help Africa doing better? And so the technology of the blockchain and access to crypto assets is actually an answer to that. Actually, a couple of months ago, together with Burrel, we organized a conference on that topic, which was called Digital Assets Without Borders, when we had quite a few professionals from different even continents giving us real-life cases as to how certain crypto assets projects are facilitating access to financial markets. Because, of course, access to banking services can be quite expensive, bureaucratic, and I don't know how many currencies there are in Africa. But this is not helping when you want to just trade with your neighbors. So the use of what we call stablecoin nowadays, backed to USDs, for example, it's really facilitating, trading at a bit lower fees, of course. And all in compliance, of course, and we don't need ink signature because everything is documented. And
this is probably something Sonia never sees anymore in her life.
You'd be surprised; it still happens. But yes, less and less.
I wouldn't be surprised because I've literally been asked to send something back to the government of Luxembourg with a hand. So.
Yeah, I mean. It's okay. We are in this transition phase, I would say. So maybe for the time being, we're asking both. Okay, blockchain, we can work with that, but just to play it safe, you're going to get a stamp as well, and then we are evolving to something else. But definitely something that would help Africa accessing markets globally, and I think there is more and more awareness around that. And the only thing is convincing the main public, because of course it's a bit technical. It can be a bit scary because it kind of has been to some extent, demonized by other people. It's not everything is shady. I mean, everything can be, used for bad, purposes. Even cash can be used to buy drugs, anything of the sort. So, but everything now is better. regulated, and it's very transparent. It's all about understanding and the knowledge. And so once you understand where to find information, because information on the blockchain is public, we just need to to learn how to read it. And
all information on the blockchain is public. All information.
Yeah.
All information is accessible to everybody.
Not, ownerships and things, but transactions. You would see that one transaction has occurred between party A and party B, and depending on the blockchain, that depends. When it comes to actual beneficial ownerships, this will be accessible by supervisory authorities. But you can track everything. So, for example, I sold you one XYZ coin last year, I can prove that I sold it to you.
It's marked digitally. Yeah.
Exactly. And you can't undo it.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's decentralized, and it's something also which is helping with some, challenges from African governments when they want to keep their hands onto things. The concept of decentralization is that it can't block you from, trading. If it's legal, then I just can transfer my assets directly from one wallet to another. I comply with the local regulations, but I don't have to go through an intermediary, get a bank processing for like a whole 2 weeks, stamping it, and then sending the cash. It takes a whole month. It's not doable anymore.
So it's a transparency thing. Yeah, so really it should lead to better governance in the end.
Correct, and that's where the opportunity is, because if we use digital assets, tokenization in general, which is a real focus of the Luxembourg authorities right now, that's really there's room for us to improve and enhance business with Africa. So in terms of evidence, proof of transactions and everything, and also so we have. As she said, we have to educate both sides of the transaction, Luxembourg and Europe in general, on Africa and how to deal with risk in dealing in Africa, and locally, the new opportunities that they have. But luckily enough, I had the chance to see also that there are a lot of local projects that were developed by local authorities, which are really in advance compared to what we do in Europe. If you take, for example, what the Central Bank of West Africa is doing right now in terms of securitization without any regulation, building, let's say, all the framework with their bare hands, like we did with the fund industry back in the 80s in Luxembourg, and they are very brilliant people who studied abroad, who worked in Singapore, Hong Kong for 20, 30 years, and who got back in their country to use their knowledge to educate, professionals there and to do what they can do with their tools. So.
And then when it comes to sustainability, which is what you're working on now, Leïla, when certain countries of Africa have really hard things to tackle, Mauritania, for instance, you mentioned where it is positioned geographically, the Sahel, and we all know about climate change effects right now. Do people care about that as a first priority, or how do you convince people to say we need to tackle this because everything feeds out of this?
Yes, well, Mauritania, as you said, it's a country with a specific geographical location where we have some issues to find water. Although we are located on the Atlantic Sea, still it's the Atlantic, and we are not infrastructure to recycle and to produce
desalinized water.
Desalinized water, thank you. So there is a lot of things to do locally, definitely. There is this aspect. There is also the food industry. Since several years, the country has developed the agriculture, but it took time. It was not very developed because it's the desert. Now we can find watermelon grounded in the country, which when I grew up there, it was impossible to find. The mangoes were all coming from the Senegal and so on and so forth. So there is effort made to develop agriculture. We have the fishery. So we have a 6% GDP growth, which is slow, but still positive.
Well, it depends what you're comparing it to. It doesn't sound it's slower than Niger, but
exactly.
I would say it's a lot compared to European
it's quite
countries.
high.
It's quite high.
Yeah, to me it sounds very high, but Niger sounds slightly off the scale.
No, I took that example because when you think about Niger, actually you don't think about safe investment. That was,
For different reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
For different reasons, I think. Yeah.
There are different local projects that are being deployed. If I want to speak about personal experience and knowledge that I have on one specific association that has been created 18 years ago by my relative. Actually, my aunt is very engaged in several topics there. She created an association called SOS Exclu. So she's supporting families and children in different areas. The first one, she started by providing food to her neighborhood that was homeless, let's say. And one step after another, she developed and expanded very much her action into the whole country, not only by providing food, but to create a sustainable solution. For example, there is this 1-year program for the single woman to teach them how to sustain themselves financially, how to build a micro company and start to sell their services or products that they can produce on their own.
Well, I'm going to take just a very short break because you have just set on something that I think has been a huge success in Africa as far as I understand it, which is microfinance. So we'll just take a very short break and come back on that topic.
The Lisa Burke Show.
So coming back from my knowledge again of just listening and reading about things, microfinance to the point of SOS Exclu, which is led by your relatives, the microfinancing and enabling one person to start and sowing a seed there, it really can spread in a beautifully positive way. And it's been, as I understand it, super successful in many African communities.
Yes, definitely. It's a key way to support single families or individuals which have not developed a specific know-how prior to that for different reasons, because of where they were raised or the lack of access to the school. And this is also another layer of her activities. She created a school for children, but also for adults who are illiterate, to teach them how to read and write, and that is and to count, because these are also the basics even for a micro company, whether you are learning, for example, to stitch. If you want to manage your small company, you have to also learn how to read and to count and to do all these things. In terms of capital, I don't know exactly how much is needed for the country or for the Africa in general, but that is a very important part of the support that we can provide to the locals.
And mobile phones have also been extraordinarily, groundbreakingly, I mean, they changed everything when it comes to banking also for many countries in Africa. So there's a lot of technology that we didn't know could flip whole societies, but it's fascinating how it can do. Any final thoughts for our listeners? What would you like to say, Burrel, about the African community here in Luxembourg? Who would you like to come along to your next event? And how many events do you have a year? And do you have African good vibes, good feelings, good food, good dancing, good music?
Well, first, I want to thank you for having us today. It was a very nice conversation, different profiles, different backgrounds, different cultures, and it's the sense of the ALC. That's the purpose that I'm trying to achieve with the people around me. For the moment, we are over 4,000 professionals working in Luxembourg, mainly in financial industry. But, I do believe that I have a message for the young people who listen to me right now. And I want to tell them to always believe in their dreams, no matter what. It's not easy to build something. As you can see, you got 2 examples. One also here we share. But when you are focused and you got a purpose, you can reach out to the stars. So that's my last message.
Well, Burrel, I think you are doing that very well. And also you're giving back, and it seems to be a theme of the conversation around the table as well, the giving back, and well, that's part of the finding purpose. And I know if you share as well from when I was reading your CV, you would teach children in Senegal who came from families that could not help them with homework, for example.
Yes, that's correct. That's what I did when I was in high school with very young children, just to help them to, get better grades, and sometimes they weren't able to go to school in certain areas because we moved a lot in Senegal because my father was relocated several times for work, so we had to go to very remote areas, even where children did not have the money just to go to school because there was no public school there, so only private. And just to, because we are with the final words, I would stay also after this show with what our 2 colleagues here said about being the third, first or second generation immigrant here in Europe, because that's exactly what I'm dealing with right now, because I have my whole family in Senegal, but I have a little daughter who is 4 today. And
happy birthday! It's all birthday's all around us.
Birthday
Happy
season.
birthday to your little girl.
Burrel knew, but I'm picking her up after school after this show. Yes, her mother is from Brittany in France, so very strong culture as well. And we are really trying, living in Luxembourg, to make her be proud of all her different sides and be rich of that. So I know it's a struggle. I know it's easier because I discussed a lot about that matter with friends that I made in Europe during my studies and during my life here for almost 20 years. And I think it's way more difficult to handle this when you are raised in Europe with a different background than when you grew up at home like I did, because I'm not really struggling with what I am, because I know that I'm Senegalese. I'm more than that now because I've lived for more than half of my life in Europe. But, I know it's easier for me to handle with, family discussions around roots and things like that, because I'm really strong on mine. So I will try to do my best to achieve what is achievable with my daughter.
That's a beautiful thing, and really happy birthday to her. But you've again brought home why it is important to have a community, because, as Sonia said at the very beginning, home is where you land at the time, and it's the people around you, and that is what makes a home in some ways. Also, home is where you are right now, even in your own head sometimes. Leïla.
Yeah, I totally agree. Home is where you are, and I think the mixture that we represent, the different cultures, the different languages that we speak, all the location that we had the chance to live in, and this can only be a richness. And I have been raised with this idea that being a mix is a richness rather than anything else. And I remember, but of course, there are always questions when we are, when we are discussing on where we are standing in front of, because of how the other would consider us, and that could impact our own thoughts and our own feelings, and sometimes adoption or rejection. But then we have to deal with that. That's life. It could be because of our difference, but it could be also for many other reasons. So this is just the human being life. But I would always remember this sentence that was said by a Moroccan humorist that we know that is very famous in France. And he was saying, I'm 100% Moroccan and I'm 100% French, because he was born and raised in France. And this is also something that I heard more recently from another American who was saying the same about his roots. Like, I'm 100% German and 100%, I don't remember the other origin that he had. And then me, it's the same. I always feel 100% everything.
I put it down. If you're a parent, you love each child 100%. There's no dilution of that. Final word to you, Sonia.
I would start with, don't be afraid of being who you are. That's very important, just to live an aligned life in general, in your professional life and your personal life. Everything has to be in line with your values. And of course, this has been, impacted by the way we were brought up by our parents and a different culture. So always, be proud, and yes, just be who you are. Don't, be dimmed because you feel like it's not coming. It doesn't really meet certain local expectations. So do that, but also work hard, because of course, when you're an outsider, you can't take anything for granted. It applies to everybody. When we are a diaspora descendant, migrant, an expat, however you want to call it, when you join a new community, you have to prove yourself. It's just human nature. People don't know you, so we have to work hard, and we all did, I think, from here, moving here, building your network, convincing people you're a good person, you're a good professional. So you'll have to work hard, and it's okay. Don't think that people have to give you something for free, so to say. So it comes with hard work, but also it's okay also to be scared, but don't let fear stop you from achieving your dreams. It takes just a little bit to do something big. I don't know if you heard of the 80-20 principle.
Oh, I love the 80-20 principle.
Yeah, I apply it on a daily basis.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
We all have fears, so don't start anything being fully fearless. It's not.
Well, maybe we should explain what the 80-20 principle is, because I assume a lot of people know this, but in fact they don't. And I was taught it by my physics teacher. And it means that, if I can say it,
sure.
If I can think about it right now, for a piece of work or a piece of life or whatever project or situation you're in, it will take 20% of your time and energy to do 80% of the work. And it will take you 80% of the time and energy to do the last 20%. So basically, don't bother with the last 20%.
Exactly. So if you have any projects, professional, if you want to start your own business, you don't have to have everything figured out from the very beginning. You have a bit of courage, sort of a plan. You trust yourself that you're
80% there.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
And it's going to happen. So yes, this is what I have to say.
Well, thank you so much. And I think your skills are certainly needed with respect to blockchain coming to Senegal, at least one country, and I know there's plenty of others as well. Thank you so much. I know there's many, many, many more conversations to be had around Africa and what's going on in various countries. We haven't delved into the various democracies or the geographies or what's happening around the world, the geopolitics of it. We haven't done that. But what we have done is shown that here in Luxembourg, we have a very strong professional network of people, and it's open to people who are not African as well. So we can come and join you for the celebrations, but also for the networking, to get to know and to understand more what it's like to be on the ground and what opportunities are there to perhaps play a part in that and to build combined projects, which is also a lovely thing. Thank you all so much for being here today.
Thank you,
Lisa.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Burrel.